Today's discussion is on data commentary. Usually, data commentary is in many disciplines, you would see that's the discussion part. It's not about only presenting data, survey, graph, chart, table, whatever figures you have, but also you're commenting on it. So you have your results, that's a different thing. Sometimes we see separate chapters, results, separate chapter, data commentary, separate chapter, your argument on the data, just as under the title called discussion, separate chapter. Sometimes in many scholarly articles you see that. Sometimes all this we see in one section. The section also could be named as discussion or data commentary or even results. So it varies from discipline to discipline. In many scholarly articles you'd see only results, and there actually you end your argument. You do not only present the survey results, but also you argue there. And after results, we see conclusion. So there are papers like that. Just giving you a heads up how the whole paper is structured, and so it's not necessary results and data commentary are separated or together. There's no fixed rule on that. It's up to you, totally up to you. But for our convenience, what I did, discussion as a separate chapter, which is in the next module. Next week, our discussion would be on discussion chapter in a paper. So I separated the discussion section and results or data commentary section. So today we'll talk about results and data commentary. So how we present data. We'll look into the language, grammatical aspects, also the structures. So the first thing is when we talk about structure, we have summary statement. That's how the results section begins. We present the data, whether in the form of table, graph, chart, and then we have a summary statement. After summary statement, we have highlighting statement. So whenever we'll be reading today from the book or from our scholarly papers, any sample paragraph of results section, we will try to locate how the summary statements are written. Secondly, I said how highlighting statements are written. About this part, which I colored as gray, because this is the next class module, discussion section, where we talk about problems, implications, recommendations, and our argument. So that's how the three things are separated. Sometimes you would see it merged. That's what I was talking about. Discussion section, sometimes it's merged in the results. You don't have a separate discussion chapter in the paper. So I kept it in a separate slide, which is scheduled for next week's module. All good? We'll talk about only today how the summary statements are written and how highlighting statements are written. And in order to complete a paragraph, we cannot just leave a paragraph with the highlighting statement. We need to end the paragraph. Every paragraph has a starting and a conclusion. So we need a little bit discussion in order to end the paragraph, at least the sentence. So we'll see examples. So you'd see examples also, a little bit, a glimpse of the discussion section, even in the results, even in when you're commenting on data. For instance, let's start with the summary statement that we have in the results section, the way we begin the data commentary chapter. The first thing is whether you write in active form or passive form, but we have something called location element. Let me take out that zoom bar. You can see that now. So we have a location element and a summary element. And that could be in active and could be in passive. Let me read it out loud. Table 5 or XYZ, 1, 2, 3, whatever, shows the most common modes of infection for the US businesses, which is inactive. So we have a location element. So which location you are talking about, figure XYZ, figure 1.1. So that's what we mentioned as a subject. And then we talk about the summary. You summarize the whole survey, data, graph, or table. You can also write in the passive form where you mention the location statement later. And you start with the summary statement. That's the basic structure. Now, moving on, the next sentence. let's read out an example before moving to the highlighting one. The first one, descriptive or informative. So we can see two structures, either with how or with that. The summary statement. Someone who would like to read out loud the first example? Table 28 shows that how.
How college seniors rated future career path considerations.
That's also a summary statement. So we write with the clause, WH clause, or how. And another example with that. Who would like to read it out loud?
Table 28 shows that while college men and women rating most path considerations similarly, they differ significantly about job potential for achieving social change.
So that's how we start the paragraph, the summary statement, whether with how or that clause. There's a location element, table 28, figure 1, 2, 3, and then you summarize what the table is about. The next thing.
And can we mix them?
We can. Oh, I mean, you mean which one you want?
Can we use them with each other's? Like how college seniors rated, blah, blah, blah. And, or sorry, that something, then, and how?
It could be with the summary statement, the first statement, you can write with how clause or that clause.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you can start it with any of the followings. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, so it depends on the chart, the graph, how big your summary could be. Sometimes it's very short, sometimes it could be a prolonged one. That depends. So we'll now see a complete paragraph and how it looks in the paragraph. Table 5 shows the most common modes of infection for US businesses. That's the summary statement. We have a location element and we have a summary. Now the next, what we expect in the highlighting statements. We see irregularities. We see something significant in the next sentence. After the summary statement, you have to pick up something that will identify a trend, regular or irregularity. Something that is actually justifies the word highlight. So what you want to highlight in the whole web of data that you are presenting, there you have to pick your own highlighting statement. You have to separate the significant finding from all those findings that you have. So the next sentence after summary statement is the highlighting statement, where you also indicate a claim. That's why you highlighted a particular data, a particular information in the next sentence. Okay, let's have a look at an example. Continuation of the previous sample that I was showing. So the first is the location elements. Table 5 shows that, or how, or without that even I wrote it here, shows the most common modes of infection for US businesses. The next bold marked portion is actually the highlighting statement. So you can see the next sentence talks about what is the majority of the case, right? As can be seen in the majority of cases, the source of viral infection can be detected with this being brought to the workplace. However, another continuation of sentence, it is alarming to note that, so now you are signifying or highlighting another particular regularity or irregularity. You're separating certain data. The majority you mentioned, what's happening, and then what is alarming there. So you highlighted this part. That's called highlighting statement. Confusion, question?
So I'm highlighting according to my critical thinking? Or?
According to your need, where you want to reach.
Oh.
Because you have a goal to reach that. You want to prove at the end of the paper.
Mm-hmm.
So your data commentary is supporting those arguments, those research questions and objectives that you already mentioned as a gap in the introduction, that you want to occupy. Make sense?
Yes.
And this is the later part that I was talking about, where you have actually arguments, counter arguments, which we call discussion section. Sometimes it is a separate chapter, sometimes it is included in the results. So I kept it for the next class, next week's module. Now we will only talk about how we highlight. It's not only we highlight in one sentence. For instance, you can see here, 2 sentences are there and certain data highlighted. The discussion section here, it has, which we'll cover next week, but I'll just give you some heads up. While it may be possible to eliminate home-to-workplace infection by requiring computer users to run antiviral software, so it's now here suggesting something. Sometimes it could be recommendations, suggestions. It could be implications. It could be problems even. So we'll talk about the moves in discussion section in the discussion chapter that we'll cover next week. There are fixed list of moves, by the way. The way we learned moves in methods section. We have 7 moves in methods. If you remember, last week we did, in the last class. In introduction, we have 3 moves. So for discussion also, we have separate moves. So that's why I kept it separate. Let's have a look at the language practice today that we'll do. First of all, when we talk about data, it sounds easy sometimes, but actually there is a struggle with preposition and verb. And definitely we use hedging. We used hedging and talked about hedging a lot in the earlier classes also, if you remember. The way we make a claim, not with in a very bold way, rather in a very academic way, we need to make the claim, so we use hedging. The kind of verbs we use, mostly reporting verbs and prepositions. So let's have a look at page number 153. I'll take you to perusal. The first 2 tasks are very easy, preposition and verb. Then we'll get into the structure. So, here we are. Here we can see 10 sentences. And these sentences are part of data commentary section, and we just have to fill it up with prepositions. In, on, at, of, by, with, whatever. Okay? Let's do it in group, not individually. You can do it and share your results with your group mates. We'll do 2 tasks together, 5 and 10, because it's very small. It will not take more than a minute. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Yeah. 5 and 10. Let me show you the 10th one also. In perusal, if you type in the box, page 172 is the task 10 is located at. And 165, if you type in perusal, it will take you to the page. Task 5. I repeat, task 5 and task 10. Preposition and verb. Any positions are confusing? A few maybe, but most are easy. Not easy? Confusing? Awesome. Yeah, it happens.
When you write it's okay, but when you have to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, that's, that comes the confusion. And when you discuss, then again, if you do it alone, you might have done it but in a minute. But you discuss and see different results from the teammates.
No, even my head is saying that it's 3 different things, so it's.
Oh. If you're done with task 5, then task 10. Task 10, you have 2 options there. No, yeah, you just we will read today how to write the results of data commentary section. Data commentary. How we design after methodology, we have the discussion section, or sometimes before discussion, we have oh, you mean if you have table, graph, chart, then you need discussion. Otherwise, after methodology, I can directly start with the discussion. Preliminary. Preliminary results are something that before you do the research,
Test.
yeah, so trial test.
I'm gonna cover it.
No, I mean, usually here you're doing the research, you have the results. You don't need a preliminary.
You're gonna test it.
Yeah, because you have your survey, you have your data graph, whatever you want. So we don't need a preliminary, without in this case. In proposals, you know. If you're submitting for fun, a research proposal, you haven't done the research, you are applying for grants.
If you test the method and the proof is correct.
So based on the preliminary results, they'll fund you, now you do the invention, or then
Yeah, no,
we're still in position. So we have 2 groups today. This is one group and this is one. Done?
No rush.
In some sentences, there could be multiple answers. I mean, it's not like one answer is correct. But that's very few.
No, it's.
So that's hedging. We are selecting the weaker
I have one
word, not the stronger. Your question?
Yeah. The section in the literature review, we are not very
Normative.
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 What is it?
What was the comment?
My professor is confused because he said I am all
You, it's
I'm doing I'm saying this is bad, this is correct.
correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Is it right?
right. He said it right.
So
His
I'm-
comment is fine. Yeah.
I'm not supposed to do that.
You cannot do it. Anyway.
Okay, so in literature, the company is synthesizing. So I'm trying to
We can use hedging.
So what does it mean? How can you? Let's say, give me an example. Because this is
Then
what
we have to see through all the portions where it wrote it and
I'm giving you, let's say, for example, this is giving outcomes.
demonstrating how previous studies. Those studies fall short.
Is
And he's saying you cannot mention the gap, right, in this way.
so I say I'm mentioning the gap in
In a very generalized judgment.
yeah,
That's
in a way that it's normal.
Yeah, no, right. We'll talk about it in the. Oh, I said in today's class at the beginning, the next Wednesday we will not have a class here
What is the okay?
because we have individual conference, and the Wednesday is the submission day of the corrected introduction of literature reviews in this location. So Wednesday you submit, and I'll email you everyone with multiple schedules that you'll
There's no
do.
class next.
Yeah, so the next will be on Monday here,
Okay.
but before that also I'll schedule some
Conference.
individual conferences like on Thursday. Whoever will not be available on Thursday, we'll shift it to Friday. Yeah. We're done? Yeah? Yeah, let's discuss. Let's see. So the first preposition, let's start with this one. As can be seen, blank figure 4, earnings have decreased. It's an easy one. You all agree with what? The first one. Do you have multiple opinions or?
We will go back or
Group 1? Let's say this is group 1, that's group 2. What's your observation? The first one? In this group? In? Awesome. Yes, correct. As can be seen in figure 4. Number 2. Group 2? Predicted blank the model.
From.
Group 1? Group by. It's by. Predicted by the model. Predicted by the model. Number 3. 3 is easy. Any group?
In.
Incorrect. As described in the previous section. Okay? Number 4. As defined. Same. In the introduction. Number 5. As reported.
From.
Actually, it's the same structure.
In.
It's the same structure, that's just with a different vocabulary. As reported in the previous literature. Number 6.
Well, I think from it works here. So it's reported from the previous. So it
but it's
depends.
reported in.
No, it depends from where you get the reporting. If you are reporting in the same paper, you can say N. But if you can take it
Reported from, I would say, not a correct form of use. Extracted form from you can use. Reported as a verb when you see something is reported in that newspaper, in that article, in that chapter. You know, so that's sometimes the verb, sometimes what's happening after that both influence the preposition that will sit in the blank. As can be seen. A little tricky, but group one. As can be seen. What did you say? Sorry. As can be seen by a comparison of the two tables.
We agreed on.
On. As can be seen on a comparison of the two tables. I would say it's in. Seen in a comparison. As can be seen in a comparison of the two tables. Let's see number 7. It's a little different. As has been demonstrated previously. Huh?
In materials of this type.
Okay. And the next one is fine. Oh. As has been demonstrated previously with materials of this type is actually the exact one. With materials of this type.
With?
With materials. With materials of this type. So here the materials influence actually, not the verb, right? Because we use even in or something else also we demonstrated earlier. Number 8. 8. Yeah, 8. Only in 8 we can use two prepositions. I mean, any one would be fine. What is this? As demonstrated. You said by, you said in, and
We have in.
by in both are. Good. As demonstrated by previous studies or in previous studies. Number 9 and 10, let's scroll down a little bit. As shown, it's very tricky, I know. Tricky as in confusing. Sometimes you might think in is fine, by is fine, this is fine, that is fine. So what's group 1?
By.
Okay, look. And
Thereby.
it's actually by, as shown by the line of the best fit. By perfectly goes. For number 10, infants. As noted in our discussion. I didn't ask, I just answered. All good? Yeah, so we have to be careful about the preposition when we write the results section. It was an easy task, I know. We hardly focus on articles and in preposition mostly. We don't think of it much while writing, so just be careful when you edit. Now, let's talk about the hedging part. Task 10. Are we there? Yeah, gotcha. The results, both group. We agree? Correct. That's the weaker claim. The survey results suggest or show? Correct. Suggests is a weaker claim. The latest series of studies, question or challenge? It's question. Question is the weaker claim. Challenges would be actually, in a way, booster, not hedge. Number 4, the results given in figure 4 validate or support. Support is the weaker claim. Validate would be very strong. Baseline conditions have been assumed or shown. Assumed is the weaker claim. Correct. Nice. Next page. We just need to talk about number 8, I guess. I guess with all the others, we don't have confusions. Number 6, several studies have identified or alluded to. This is number 6. Both the group agree? Alluded, correct. Number 7, changes in ambient temperature may have influenced or distorted. Influence is the hedging. Previous studies failed or forgot. Now that's a very tricky one. Huh? So this group says forgot, this is failed. Now the question is, if you ask me, I would never. No, it's true. When you have to choose weaker and stronger, fail is actually a stronger, not a weaker hedging. But forgot is not an academic word.
Yeah, this is what we discussed about.
Yeah, so can I actually say what the previous research or researcher forgot, and how do I know who am I to say that what someone forgot? I'm no one to claim or comment that. So that's a very tricky question. Question as in I actually do not have a proper authentic answer to it.
No, so I think.
I would say failed, but that's not a weaker claim. That's a strong claim. Forgot is a weaker claim if I have to choose a weaker claim. But I would suggest personally, do not write the word forgot about any other previous research, that someone forgot something. So how do I know someone forgot something, and who am I to tell them?
So don't write that this researcher failed to do something, otherwise maybe you're gonna be
So I would say both of them are incorrect.
Yeah.
Both options that you got there. One is non-academic, but weaker, and the other is very strong, failed. We can use strong when we have to use booster, we call it. But now we have to only select hedging, so in that way it will be forgot.
So those sentences should be used in which section? In all the sections?
Hedging?
No.
Hedging also can be used in literature review. Yeah.
So,
And data commentary, we definitely use hedging. Because we are talking about figures and
when you say here, several studies, the results, so should we be more specific on which studies?
yeah, I mean here we are just practicing on the verb, but usually definitely you mention which study you're talking about.
But it's a program, so several studies, they combine all the studies.
So it's a summary statement. That means the next statement we highlight something. It's the summary statement. Several studies have researched on something, and then definitely we're expecting individual citations also. And also when you say several studies, it has to be cited in your paper when you are saying it. You got it from somewhere.
All the citations, all the studies that I mentioned should be cited. So let's say I'm mentioning for several studies, 3. So at the end of this sentence should be the citation for 3 sources.
Could be, yes. Yes. Could be. And if it's your conclusion,
And this considered as an introduction sentence.
this is considered as a summary statement, particularly now.
Then if you followed by which.
You can also use it in the introduction, correct? In the introduction or in literature review. When you start with several studies, then you.
But when you say this could be used in the literature review, that's mean I'm gonna just put summary all the studies before without any synthesizing until I reach this sentence to present the gap.
This is several studies, for example, the importance of cultural sensitivity as a precursor to culturally appropriate medical care. So now we are expecting in the next few sentences, you'll talk about all those several studies. This is a summary statement.
From what? Summary in which sections? To be specific. In the literature review.
Or could be in results of data commentary
Okay,
section.
let's say in the literature review, I think it's sentence. That's mean the previous sentences explain all the studies results.
The next sections will be explaining. This is a summary statement. We start with a summary statement. We start with the topic. This is the topic. Make sense? In the next sentences, you'll be explaining.
No, I'm talking about fail. If you say fail.
Several studies is number 6.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's take fail.
The previous.
Previous studies.
It cannot be a starting. It could be in the very end. It can never. You can never place number 8 in the beginning of any paragraph. That's what you want to know?
Yeah, I just, the specific information that I want to know is if I mention a study in the literature review,
Yeah. You have to mention only studies in the literature review.
yeah, without any point of view,
Without any point of view.
pointing up a gap,
That's impossible. You mention literature in the literature review, all the resource materials to talk about either to take help from them or to mention a gap.
yeah, so either to extend their work or to
Correct.
mention a gap.
Yeah.
So how can I mention the gap? Extend their work, it's easy.
Yeah, extend the word, or if there is a gap, you mention the gap. If there is no gap, you don't
So
mention.
if there is a gap,
You mention.
which sentence?
Yes.
Should I say the previous studies failed to consider?
Yes, you can say that.
So that's mean I'm providing multiple sources without any synthesizing. Then at all.
You synthesize and then you reach the conclusion.
Okay, so can I have an example? Just how can I synthesize without providing a gap?
You have to synthesize by providing a gap. That's the purpose. The gap must be mentioned.
No, I get
If you got it,
no, I got confused.
without a gap, there is no meaning of writing any
Right.
synthesizing.
But if you mention previous studies, that's mean you are providing a gap.
You already provided a gap by the verb failed. Someone failed to do something.
Okay.
That's a gap statement.
And this is the end of, let's say, a section in the literature review. Because you say this is a conclusion. It's not going to be in the beginning. So I'm, let's say, a source A provide this, and source B provide this.
And there's a gap there. Good, yeah.
So without mentioning in source A, what is the gap? First,
You
before
cannot,
going to the source B.
you have to mention gap every time if there is a gap.
Okay. So this sentence should not be used because it's combining all the sources together. If it said previous studies, that means I provided you multiple studies at the beginning, at the end, I'm referring to them.
Let's say, let me give you an example. There was a paragraph we did a lot like this when we synthesize. One example is accidents, road accidents and the causes of it. So there are multiple definitions. So one definition, there's a gap. Another definition, there is another gap. Someone would say it's cultural, someone would say it's a blink and right case, someone would say, but you might have a new definition. So when you are providing or rejecting every definition or every previous existing knowledge, you're mentioning that. And the summary of it is, previous all the studies failed to do something. You can say that. What is the problem in it? Previous studies meant failed in something.
Because we say the first study mentioned a gap or mentioned a result, you mean a study. You say the gap.
You always mention gap in every study. And this is a summary statement. This is a summary statement. It means that you will talk about every study that you are referring there. And this is a plural statement, previous studies.
Right.
Confusion clear?
So there is a duplication now.
Now, research A, research B, research C, you're talking about gap in every research. And the summary statement, the general summary conclusion is previous studies failed in something. Clear? Yeah? Yeah?
Another question, is it a root sentence?
No,
No?
it's not a root sentence.
Okay.
It's called move to,
Okay.
that we have in every research paper. Otherwise, there is no meaning that you are doing a research.
I mean, the failed stuff, I don't know.
If something has failed, then you do it.
Okay.
You do not use the word fail if someone has not failed.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, if it's fact, then you do it.
Okay. This one is.
There are many other ways to mention the word. If you want to replace the word fail, not necessarily have to use the word fail, but it's not true.
Okay. Just wanted to know.
It's not true. We see it in many examples.
Fails to consider a failed. Yeah.
Yeah, but if it's not a fail, you don't use the word fail. You know, so it's could be a gap, could be previous studies missed something. You use the word missed. Miss is also a word. Yeah, make sense? Number 9, right? As shown in figure 3, trade liberalization has which one? Stimulated is not hedging. Stimulated would be boosting. You can reuse it, but here we have to choose the weaker one. Encouraged would be a softer claim. Stimulated would be a stronger claim.
Because it's stimulated based on fact, so it can be strong.
Stimulate verb is strong.
Yeah, it's my bad. I would have said encourage. I guess.
Right? Encourage is a weaker claim.
Yeah.
Okay? Number 10. Clarifies the debits.
Debits.
Is good. Debits, yeah. Debits is a weaker claim. Clarify would be a stronger claim. So we can use boosting, but now here we are only choosing the softer claims. Okay?
Number 3.
Number 3.
So if we say the latest series of studies
Question the value of.
and the value of including customer expectations. So this is going to be an introduction sentence in a specific part or sections in digital.
Correct. Something is questioning something. It's a previous research. It's not your research. You have paraphrased or summarized one research and the conclusion of it.
Or multiple.
Could be multiple or could be single. Got it? The question, that's also another way of writing. So let's say, rather than writing something failed, we can also say questioned or challenged, or maybe you can question a previous research based on certain factors.
So if I say fail short or fail, which one is weaker? Is it
When you use the word fail, it would be boosting. It would not be hedging. Right? Because you're saying directly, there is no, you cannot normalize that. You know? Let's now look at the structure after doing this grammar part. Where is the structure? Gotcha. A very short passage. Page 187, if you type there, it will take you to this page. So now here we have, we'll definitely look into the language verbs, the way it is written. Along with this, what we have to do is, there's a table beneath the passage. We just have to fill up this column and nothing else. The column of purpose, so that we understand sentence 1, what's the purpose of it? Sentence 2, what's the purpose of it? Sentence 3, what's the purpose of it? So we have only 7 sentences and we'll write 7 purposes. The first one is done here in the book. For instance, it says the first sentence is a highlighting statement. Let's have a look at the first sentence. Slightly more than 3/4 of the scientists surveyed adopted writing strategies that involve the use of their first language. So it highlighted certain data. The next sentence, highlighting in a deeper level possibly. The third, what's the purpose of the third? What's the purpose of the fourth? So that's what we will discuss in groups. And you have to find out the purpose. Language could vary, that's fine. But if you could explain, this is the purpose, this sentence is used. That's it. So now we'll learn the chronological order of sentencing in data commentary paragraph. just giving you some heads up on this same task, which is a continuation of this. We don't need that right now. In case you think the passage started with a highlighting statement. It started actually with the summary statement, which is in task 7. If you read, let me read that for you. The following data commentary, based on Dr. Akiko Okamura's research on how Japanese researchers learn to write in English in their chosen field. So that's a summary statement with how or that usually we write. And it talks about the table. So this is table 8. After this, that's where we are right now. After this table and this summary statement, that passage started with highlighting statement. So that's the continuation of this. But we are only focusing on the purpose of the organization. So do not think that they started their data commentary without a summary statement. If you got the purpose, you can start discussing. Yes. So in introduction, we have studies and theories. There's a difference between these two. Theories and studies. Unless it's theories and not studies.
Yeah, study is not the
Why? Could be.
studies, because sometimes you're doing an expert.
You develop theory after studies.
But it's not sometimes study theory. Because if I do experiment, let's say learning English with some people enhance their doing something. But it's not theory because you cannot apply it.
No theory you can apply everywhere. Every theory can be applied in certain contexts.
So what's the difference between there's no difference?
Theory, we
Because
invent or we discover or we come up with theory after research, after exercising the theory in certain contexts. We use it. If we cannot apply a theory, there is no meaning of theory. Every theory is applied in certain contexts.
So mentioning the so how can I cite a theory or a study?
How can you cite?
Yeah, I'm saying I mean how can I mention the theory or study in my research? So let's say gravity. Should I say Newton has done a study or mention just the theory?
It's the same thing. There's no difference what you're saying.
But if I mention this name,
Whether you mention a theory or a study, you cite.
let's
The
say,
previous.
yeah, I follow my question. If I say a named person has done a separate thing, that's me. I'm trying to emphasize his name, right? Otherwise, I should state what he has done without mentioning his name.
You can never do it because someone has done something, you have to mention the name. So whether in
Mentioning the name of the person, yeah, let's say I'm mentioning a couple of names.
you mention in many ways. You mention in the bracket as index citation also, or in the sentence, you can start the sentence with the person.
As a subject.
Yeah, whether APA, MLA, every style has different formula of citing person's name.
But either way,
Integral citation and non
can I delete his name? Let's say a study provide
You
that.
cannot. You do it in index citation.
No, but in the end of the sentence on that side is without mentioning the name.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah, that's called, integral and non-integral citation. On the side we
So
do.
how can I start the sentence? Should you say research, a study,
Yeah.
a theory?
Yeah.
Can I say
If it's a theory, you can say theory. If it's a study, you can say study. Whatever could be a subject, that's not a problem. We have to cite whether it's as an index citation or in the sentence or in the bracket.
yeah.
You mentioned, or as a footnote, depends on the discipline. Yeah, you mentioned, you cite it. There's no flaw as a subject if you say research study, really.
Yeah,
There's no flaw.
as the professor spent time reading, he is more critical about that.
If it's not a theory, you would say change it. You can change the head now. That's not a problem in your research.
You know, I have done an experiment with some professors here.
Everyone has different
You
opinions.
know, he told me last week to change the thing, and I kept it. And he now complimented me. He said, "This work is great. This sentence is amazing." Yeah, because
Yeah, I got your point.
I'm tired from different opinions.
That's
Everyone is right, but they are insisting they are right.
got your point.
And the end up, I am the victor.
It's a different argument. Now do this task first. Are we done? Purposes? Let's get back. So the first sentence is done here, highlighting. The second, let's do it together. It will save time.
Okay.
What about the second? Moreover, less than a quarter appear capable of writing directly in English. What's the purpose of the second sentence, you would say? So it's a moreover.
In addition,
So it's a separate trend that you're highlighting, and you're adding with the highlight statement. I would say the first two sentences here are highlighting statements. The second sentence, with the moreover, we understand it's an addition data. The third, the most significant here, overall, the figures would appear to suggest that most Japanese scientists have difficulties and frustrations when preparing papers for English medium journals. What would you say, the third sentence? Okay, if we have a plane here, point, that's a point, point.
the homework.
Huh?
The homework.
Yeah, I mean, even the claim, I mean, overall also suggests you are making a summary statement. So we can we use this word? Conclusion, correct? Because you're using overall, something was done. We can say it's a qualified conclusion, right? So the third sentence is actually the conclusion we got. So this is the problem, the difficulty, the frustrations. The fourth. Fourth, what's the purpose of the fourth? Group one? What do you think? I mean, yes, discussion, but if you have to narrow down the purpose, what would you say? Definitely the whole thing, 4, 5, 6, 7, everything actually discussion.
Give an example.
Group 2, Jeff, Carol?
Highlight statement. Difference. Now it's changing the rule.
Yours or what?
Yes, a discussion, definitely. But if you have to label it exactly what it is talking about. So after a qualified conclusion, can we say it's you are mentioning the unexpected result,
Oh,
right? You're not mentioning all the results. You're mentioning the unexpected results. Make sense? So now, the next sentence we have a demonstrative adjective as a flow, which is a very good flow. So this phenomenon, so what is this phenomenon? The unexpected result. So what would be number 5? The purpose of number 5?
explanation.
Very good. Explaining the unexpected result. Possible explanation. We can, if you have to name it, the purpose of it would be possible explanation. So what we learned from here, we highlight data, we write the conclusion of that survey or table or chart, we talk about the unexpected result, and we do not leave it there. We explain the unexpected result, the possible explanation. Make sense? Number 6, 7. 6, let's talk about 6. Nevertheless, all the findings need to be treated with some caution, since they are based on what scientists said they would, the deed, rather than on direct observations of their writing. It's very easy. What is number 6? Limitation. Number 6 is talking about the limitation of the data. So we got an organizational structure. We highlight data after summary statement. We talk about the conclusion. We mention unexpected result, and then possible explanation of that unexpected result. Then we talk about limitation. Number 7. Case studies of actual writing practices would be one possible direction for further research. Suggestion for future. And yes, these are definitely 5, 6, 7, I would say, a part of the discussion, because that's an argument, but we are narrowing down the purpose. So future suggestions, number 7. So we got a structure of the data commentary. Make sense? Yeah? Now, we have 5 minutes, so what we can do, based on this structure, can we rearrange an unorganized data commentary? Like page 187, if you type, it will take you here. Let's do it in the same group. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. How many sentences? 9 sentences, but they are not in order. These 9 sentences are part of a data commentary. They're not in order. Let's say we don't know the first sentence is A. No. Maybe the first sentence would be E, F, G, H, whatever. So you have to arrange it in order and try to arrange it with the structure that you just got to know. Okay, so that's how we place the purposes. Make sense? Instruction? Let's do it. I can help with the first sentence. Location statement. Figure 12 displays. Right? So F is, what is that? F now, it's E, right? E is number 1. helped you a little more. The second sentence would be after an initial increase. And then next, an overall, where's that? An overall increase in temperature. That's the third sentence. Try to connect. And the fourth is however. It's a difficult one, right? Rearranging. It's pretty confusing. The fifth sentence would be sixth would be I. Seventh sentence would be A. We'll continue from here. We ran out of time today. We might have a engagement. Okay? We'll discuss this organization. The next class will be on discussion, so which is actually a continuation of data commentary. No worries. Whatever confusions or questions you have, we can place it. And I'll send you an email for individual conference Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, it will be next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, we'll not have a class here because we'll have individual conference like this Wednesday. This Wednesday, we'll not have a class here. You have a due date of submitting the introduction chapter, final submission. You'll add your resource synthesis with it. And the next class here will be on next Monday, where we'll continue this discussion.
Monday is off, right?
No. Here Friday.
Friday, Saturday.
For Easter,
Yeah.
7 to 10.
7.
April 7 to 10 is off, as far as I know.
Okay, so
You can check the academic calendar. Yeah.
I think Monday. So 10 is Monday, so it will be off.
If it's an academic holiday, it's an academic holiday.
Yeah.
We'll meet in the next class. Yeah. Make sense?
Sure.
Good. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.